So a little bit about what I do when I decide that I want to costume something. I obviously have to pre-plan. I think everybody needs to plan what they're doing. So I study the costume and I check off things that I might already have or that, I might be able to find quickly. And then I shop. So for this costume, if I already had this purple shirt, just check that off real easy. I don't like to sketch. So like usually I'm a list maker. Sometimes people will take the picture and then write out off to the side, and I see people do that. That's great too. But if you sketch, that might be something you could do. So I also like to map out where I can find things, so I'm not always backtracking. And then this is what I look for, okay? And this is the order in which I look for them. So color, style, and simple alterations. So if something is the right color, I'm immediately drawn to it. Goodwill used to be organized by color, and now they're not. And that has really kind of, I don't like it as much as a cosplayer because I'm like, oh, I liked it when it was organized by color. Because it's very easy, even if it's too big for you, to take it in. So now, though, if you go into any Goodwill or any thrift shop, it's pretty easy to just scan and see if something is the right color for you. So like back to that purple shirt, that would be something very, very easy to find at the Goodwill. Then I have an example of this. So I took my nephew. My nephew is my little costume buddy. He actually moved to Texas, and I'm missing him like crazy. Especially every convention, I miss him like crazy. But he decided that we all wanted to go and be SpiderMan at the SpiderMan Homecoming. Was it Homecoming? I don't remember which one it was. Anyway, we wanted to go see Spider-Man dressed as Spider-Man. So Ryan, my husband, dressed as Spider-Man. And I decided that I wanted to be Mary Jane because I was going to be Spider-Gwen, but it was the middle of July, and I was like, not about that life. So, yeah. So I was like, I want to wear jeans and a T-shirt today. So I just got in my closet, got out a white T-shirt. I knew I had some iron-on paper for the printer, and I just printed out that little design. Very easy to find on your computer. Very, very easy things like that. Obviously, you're just looking for color. So the next thing that I go for is style. If it's the right style, but it's not the right color, don't be scared of it because you can always dye it. And I know when I say dye things, people get really, really nervous. They're like, no, why would you ever dye something? That's going to be a mess. It's not going to turn out right. I promise you, 9 times out of 10, it'll turn out just fine. I love dyeing things. Of course, again, I was born in the wrong era. I love to tie dye. So I knew whenever I was going to start cosplaying, I was like, dyeing is going to be super easy because I can already tie dye. I know what I'm doing. So don't be scared of it. There are a couple different types of dye. For polyester, I usually use eye dye, and it's a stovetop method. Now, here's a tip that I've learned recently. Don't do it on your actual stovetop. Buy what is a propane? Yeah, propane, like outdoor propane burner. And that way you can put the pot outside, and if it bubbles over, you don't have red dye all over your countertop like I just did. That was not a fun day. I cleaned it up before Ryan got home because I was like, so it was an interesting hour or two. So if you are doing the stovetop, I would recommend, if you're going to be doing it a lot, to get something like that or borrow it from a friend, which is what we did this past weekend. I like eye dye. Some people use Rit Dye actually has come out with a polyester dye since then. It's called Dye More. But I really, really, really like eye dye. It gives you a really good color. It smells horrible, especially when you're dyeing it. It's so nasty, so be prepared for that. For cotton, I use Rit. If it's a cotton, any kind of item, I definitely use Rit dye. It's cheap, and I really like the washing machine method. It works better if you have a top loading instead of a front loading. So I really like the washing machine method because you just dump the dye in, you put your garment in, usually use a little bit of salt for an agitator, and then voila, it's done. After that, you will want to run a bleach just so that it doesn't actually accidentally dye any of your clothes. I've never had that happen, but I usually just throw in like a load of whites and then put some bleach in there. So an example of a dyed costume is actually one of my favorites that I've ever done. This is the Silk Spectre from The Watchmen, and Ryan is from The Watchmen today. I really like the Silk Spectre. I like her story, and I'm obviously into that vintage style. So the first time I ever cosplayed her is on the far left, and that is a dress that I found at the Goodwill, and it was originally a cream color. And I thought, oh, this will be great for Marilyn Monroe or something if I do her for Halloween. Well, then I kind of started looking at the Silk Spectre's dress, and I was like, this looks a lot like it. So I decided that I wanted to dye it yellow, and that was very easy. I used the polyester eye dye on it. You can see it got a really great color out of it. And then when I started perfecting my sewing skills a little bit more, and I actually ended up making the one on the right. But you can see there's, a lot of similarity there. So from something that you hand make to something that you just buy, it's still very, very similar. Everybody knew who I was still. Very easy to tell. The next thing that I look for is simple alterations. So if it's almost exactly like what you need, but it needs bows or a hem, those are the kind of things that any novice sewer can do. But the biggest question that I ask myself is it worth it? Because if it's going to require a lot of alteration, I don't want to do it. So a big example of this is Janine from the Ghostbusters. My buddies, the Louisville Ghostbusters, wanted me to be their secretary. And I chose the green dress because I really like that one. And I knew I had just plain green dress, and I was like, oh, it needs bows. So I just made some bows and added them. They're not on there all that well. It was only for one photo shoot. Again, kind of goes back to that. Am I only going to use this once, or am I going to use it multiple times? I've maybe worn that twice. So I knew when I did it that I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on it. So I found that dress again at the Goodwill by scanning for color, and just added the bows to it. Pretty easy to do. And you're going back to this, actually, your helpful tip here is hem tape. So if you don't know how to sew, hem tape can really help you out. It's just iron on. So you just fold it and then iron it. So again, back to questions that I ask myself. Do I want it to be screen accurate? If it's not exactly screen accurate, is anyone going to notice? And is it just for fun? So I really wanted Ray to be screen accurate. I handmade all of it, okay? But back to Janine, okay? Nobody really notices that this top is not exactly the same as that top, okay? And it was for one photo shoot. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I don't have a lot of time as a person anyway. So again, it's just kind of comes back all full circle. Like, are you just going to do it for fun or whatever? So here's where I shop. You're getting my secrets today, and because you were up early and coming to my panel, I'm going to give you my secret store, and it is actually on here. So I go to the Goodwill a lot because there are 3 within like 20 minutes of my house, and I'm sure you guys probably all have Goodwills near you. That's the most popular one. They always, some little tips for you, they always have stuff around Halloween. So things like little masks, like I know we have a Black Widow in here. The bullets that you connect might be pretty easy to find. Little things like that you would normally go to Caulfield's or to Horner for, or to any other costume store for, can be found at Goodwill around Halloween. They also have sales on Sundays. They have big... they change their color on Sundays, and then they have a sale the first Saturday of every month. So check those sales out. And if you're military, or if you're a senior citizen, or if you have parents that would like to go with you, because my mom comes with me sometimes, they can give you their discount as well. So that's always good to know. My favorite thrift shop is the Salvation Army, so you're getting a secret there. I also look up churches and charities because they usually often have thrift shops. There are St. Vincent de Paul around here. If you're not from around here, these are not going to make any sense to you. But St. Vincent de Paul and several others have little thrift shops. They're open very weird hours, so just be aware of that. I usually go out like Saturday mornings or, something like that to get all of those things. But if you do a quick Google search, it'll probably bring up lots of little thrift stores in your area. when okay, so vintage. Let me get to that. Vintage stores, I obviously love. There are several in this area. Acorn is a really great one, and the Nitty Gritty is a really great one from around here too. So if you're looking for something specifically vintage, those are great places to go. If you cannot find, because it's really hard to find vintage items at the Goodwill, I mean true vintage, and it's sometimes even hard with true vintage to find your size, because just the sizing was very weird, and they always had like corsets and stuff on. So if you're finding something from the 50s, it's like a 24-inch waist with like a 38-inch bust, and I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. As much as I want it to, it's not going to happen. But they always wore like shapewear and really intense shapewear that we don't usually wear now. So when I'm looking for vintage, if I'm looking for something specific, I usually try to go maybe to ModCloth or to the other vintage stores that kind of have similar things. It's become now a thing where like Amazon even runs like some vintage looking dresses. So if you're looking for something like that, like I'm popping into my head right now is the mom from Umbrella Academy. Those would be pretty easy to find something similar on ModCloth. Also, if you're like, okay, maybe Downton Abbey, things like that, again, probably not going to find at the Goodwill. You probably need to go to a vintage store for that, or to ModCloth. And being a Peggy Carter cosplayer, obviously, Army surplus is life. So I love the Army surplus. If you're doing anything with a jumpsuit, anything with tactical gear, anything Army or military related, even if it's something that maybe isn't necessarily Army, but is kind of like that, definitely check out the Army surplus. They even have Army surplus online on eBay, but you can also find it at a lot of flea markets. There's a really great guy who has Army surplus booths in nearly every flea market in like the, I don't know, Indiana, Kentucky area. He has some like all the way in Shepherdsville and then some up in like Noblesville. So he has a lot. And thanks to Galaxy Photography for this lovely picture of myself here. Also, yeah, most of that cosplay is secondhand. So I'll explain a little bit more about how I made that later because it's one of my favorites. Here's my nephew, just because he's cute. He got really into Doctor Who, and then every time a Doctor regenerated, he was like, I need that costume. And I was like, oh gosh. Because he's like, 8 and really small, and it's hard to make things for him. But we bought most of this, and bought that little leather jacket. How cute is he? And the little the jacket for 11 on the end is like a jacket that's much bigger than he is, but I've tacked it up for him. So hopefully he can wear it for a long time. And then I dressed up as Perry for a Doctor Who thing, and Perry herself like commented back and said it was awesome. And so I was like, huh, that's so cool. Never been tweeted back by Haley Atwell, but it's fine. It's okay. I'm not better about that at all. It'll happen one day. So these are all of my Peggies, because Peggy is actually a really great example of things that you can find in thrift stores or online. So from left to right, top to bottom, the first dress, the blue one, with the flowers, is actually from Amazon. It's one of the easiest Peggy cosplays to find. It's just a vintage reproduction. And the next one is also a vintage reproduction that I found online. Not on Amazon. It was on a different site. Next one is Army surplus, and I made the skirt. Then on the bottom row, we have, again, Army surplus. That's what I'm wearing today. The next one is eBay, the blue suit. I just bought it from eBay. Blue suits, like suits, they haven't changed much over the years. So if you're looking for anything with a suit, definitely go to Goodwill, or look on eBay or Poshmark or something like that, because they really haven't changed at all. Then the last one, again, still Army surplus. Always look online, too. That's another big tip, because sometimes getting cosplay groups on Facebook and things, because you can always buy from other people. That one right there, the blue with where I'm holding the book, is actually, I purchased that from another Peggy that didn't want it anymore. So that's another good tip. And more about that. When secondhand stores aren't enough, so this is when I can't find things in my closet or at secondhand stores, I'll go to Walmart, Target, just your normal everyday places. Walmart's great for plain colored items. They usually have shirts that are even cheaper than the Goodwill sometimes. If your Walmart has a craft section, which mine does, might be a one-stop shop for you. Target usually has like a more stylish collection of items, so maybe jackets, things like that. If you were doing Jessica Jones, I would maybe, tell you to go there. For things that are a little bit like Quicksilver, I know that's a big one. People like to do Quicksilver with that silver jacket. Maybe Forever 21, just because that's a little more hip style. H&M would be a good place to check for that too. Then eBay. I have a really love-hate relationship with eBay because sometimes when you order things on eBay, it comes from Hong Kong and it takes forever to get here. Like these little tiny pins here took like months. So just be sure to look at those delivery dates. They have gotten better about it, I feel like. If you are looking for screen accurate items, okay, and this is where eBay comes in and really makes your job easier. So screen accuracy, find out who makes the items. So this is a big thing for Doctor Who cosplayers, and I know we have a Doctor Who guest this weekend, so it's kind of a thing I wanted to touch on. So find out who makes the item from a site like, what is that? Worn on TV. It's right there. WornOnTV.net will tell you who makes the item. So you can look up any episode of any show and it'll say, okay, Doctor Who episode 1 or season 1, episode 1. And then it'll tell you this shirt is made by H&M. And you can either go buy it from the site if they still have it, or you can set a search on your eBay. So what you do is you get in your app and you search for the item, and then you click save search and it'll notify you every time new things come up in that search bar. So that's how I found Rose Tyler had some shoes that I wanted like really, really bad, and they were really cute. And so I ended up like setting a search for them, and then eventually they came up and in my size. Somebody was selling them. They didn't want them anymore, and I got to get them. So check your search settings on eBay because that will help you. Poshmark and Mercari are also really great apps to have on your phone for cosplayers because people sell kind of more stylish things at a discount rate. So even just for my own shopping needs, I will go in there. If I see something on ModCloth that I want, but it's like $60, I'll go in and find somebody who bought it and then didn't like it and is selling it for $30. And you can search by brand. It's also kind of really organized like that. And I don't know that you can save searches like you can on eBay, but you can search by brand, and it does remember like and kind of bring things up that you would like. Amazon Prime is life too. For a cosplayer, Amazon is amazing. 2-day shipping. I mean, you can't get past it. Amazon has also really upped their game with like the vintage reproduction stuff. So that's great. Etsy's really overpriced. I know you probably all know this. Commissions are really expensive as well. But sometimes I just don't have the skill set, and I don't want the skill set, or I just don't want to attempt to find it because I know it's going to be a hard item to find. That's when I turn to a commission. I've commissioned many dresses from Heart My Closet. That's who did my dress here with my lovely picture with Chris Evans. I wanted it to look really good because obviously I paid a lot for that photo, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make it look that good, and I knew that if I bought it from somebody who made it specifically for me, it was going to fit me well and not look like I had just bought it off the rack. So I commissioned Heart My Closet. She did it, and it looks amazing. I love that dress so much. So commission if you want it to fit really well and you want it to look really good. And again, back to the Facebook groups. I'm in several Facebook groups online that people are like, oh, I don't want this costume anymore. Does anyone want to buy it? I've bought so many like that. That's how I bought my Spider-Gwen. That's how I wore Buttercup yesterday. That's how I bought her. So, thrift from your friends as well. It's kind of like a yard sale. Nice big online yard sale. Cosplay Sky and AliExpress are interesting. Ordering things online, like from those like Zentai suits and all of that, you have to be really particular. You have to really send in your measurements. You have to be really precise with your measurements. So just make sure if you are going to do that to get somebody to measure you. Don't measure yourself. Actually have somebody help you with it. I measured you for this, if you want to stand up. I measured Ben for this suit so that he could have, and it fits really well. So have somebody measure you, because that will make your job easier so that you don't have to hem something or take something in. Yeah. So a couple of pictures here. This is a dress that Clara actually wore in the one of the episodes of Doctor Who, and I wanted her actual dress. So that's something that I found on eBay by setting my search term. I knew who made the dress, and I knew that I could put in polka dot. I don't remember the exact brand now, so I put in like H&M polka dot and save my search, and eventually it did come up and I could buy it for myself. And then also change your search terms is another helpful tip that I have down here. These two jackets look exactly the same, but one of them is $1,000 and one of them is $25, and it's because one of them is made of real leather and one of them is made of plastic pleather. But they look exactly the same. So if you're going to be Jessica Jones, this is actually a Jessica Jones jacket on the right. Make sure that you're buying something that isn't, a psychotic amount of money. So change your search terms. Don't search leather jacket, search faux leather jacket or pleather jacket, and those kind of things will come up. Because I think that's something a lot of people just don't, it's something that you don't really think of to change your search terms. Here are lots of examples of costumes. Let me go through them and tell you where I bought everything. My Idiot's Lantern Rose, which is the one with David Tennant here. The jacket is from the Goodwill. The sequin top that I'm wearing underneath of it is from Poshmark. I handmade the skirt, and then all the little details are all things that I just had at home. And I added them. So the little flower, the sunglasses, the headband. I even made the earrings from jewelry stuff. Anytime you can add those little details, add them, because they really make your costume look a little better. Osgood is another Doctor Who character. Doctor Who characters are very easy to find at the Goodwill. Osgood is great. Lab coat is from Amazon. Amazon has lab coats for under $20. Top is from Goodwill. Pants are from Walmart. Scarf, my mom handmade. So thanks, Mom. Molly Hooper is another she's from Sherlock, and I can use the same lab coat for her, so it's good double use there. Getting more for your money. Trillian from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was super easy. Just all online or store-bought, except for the white scarf, which I made. My Black Widow bodysuit, I actually bought that from Hot Topic. No, wait, that's the one I bought from Amazon. They had it at Hot Topic as well. And then I made the belt out of wooden circles from Hobby Lobby. And the cuffs are, like I said, made from bullets from the costume store. The Oswin dress that you see, the red dress here with the TARDIS, is from Old Navy. And the utility belt is made from found items that I just randomly had laying around the house. And the Jessica Jones, again, we talked about her jacket a little bit, is a jacket that I found that exactly matches hers in every way possible except for not being leather. Here are my more expensive costumes, things that are not necessarily made from things in my closet. So my Wonder Woman is a commission from Jedi Manda. She's amazing. Spider-Gwen and Buttercup were both purchased from Facebook groups. And then my Snow White and my USO Girl were purchased from, I think, Cosplay Sky or AliExpress, one of the two. And you had to be really careful with those measurements. They still turned out really well. I was pretty happy with them. Make sure, ask your friends, if you have cosplay friends, if the site is legit, because we will know. Little bit about wigs. I kind of go into the whole gamut here. Wigs are expensive, if you haven't figured that out yet. So try to use them for more than one thing, is what I always tell everyone. Oh, you can use that same wig for Rose. You can use it for Captain Marvel. You can use it for 11. It's all the same wig. Again, is it for, one-time use or whatever? If it is, I'll just go to Amazon and buy one. If I'm going to wear it a lot, I'll make sure I get a lace front because they're a little more comfortable and they look a little better. I do have a recommendation for wigs. I found that the brand Chrisima on Amazon is a really great lace front wig place. So it's Kryssma, and they make really good lace fronts. So if you saw me yesterday, I was dressed as Rose Tyler, but I was also dressed as Buttercup, and both of those wigs were Chrisima wigs, and they both looked really good. I like their lace fronts a lot. And the same goes for shoes. If you need black boots for a costume, use them for other costumes so you're not constantly buying black boots. Makeup, more important than you think. It's a really cheap and easy way to make your costume look kind of leveled up. Look online for tutorials. I know everybody always tells me I'm horrible at makeup. And I'm like, no, you're not. Just practice. So practice it. And I mean, I do this a lot. I'll just like mess around. Like if I have like an hour or two, just mess around on your face. And I know that might sound weird to people, but I kind of think of it as like painting. And instead of painting on a canvas, I'm trying to see what I can do to make these characters kind of come to life a little bit better. I will say this disclaimer. I love makeup. I like buying it. I like putting it on. I like the technique and everything. But I also think it's a really great way if you can do it to make your costume just kind of leveled up a little bit. I will say I'm pretty good at makeup, and I still look at online tutorials. And if I'm laying in bed scrolling, well, it's kind of like an ASMR thing. I just like to watch people put on makeup. So, and if you need help, I love makeup, so I will tell you everything I know about makeup, or I'll do your makeup for you. I did Elizabeth's makeup yesterday. I love doing makeup on people. People are always asking me, can you give me a wing? Because I like to do wings. And I'm like, yes, I will love to give you a wing. That's one of my favorite things to do. Cosplays that are easy to find in your closet or at a thrift store are Doctor Who, Supernatural, Firefly, Walking Dead. All of those are really easy. Cosplays that are kind of hard to find are superheroes. Unfortunately, anything with armor, you're going to have to make the armor. But a helpful tip, if your superhero has more than one costume, pick the costume that you can find at a thrift store. So this one, Mary Marvel, she has many different costumes, but I like this one the best. And this dress is here today. I brought it with me. And it is from Poshmark. I found it on there and just altered it a little bit. So all I did to it was I added bias tape at the bottom, on the arms and on the neck, and the lightning bolt. All that is you guys know what a Cricut is. It cuts out your letters. It's Cricut vinyl, and all I did was cut out the design and ironed it on. It was super easy. It made me really nervous because I was making this for Dragon Con and I wanted it to look really, really good. But it actually came out really well, and I was very happy with it. Bias tape is so easy. I was thinking, how am I going to get this, yellow band across the bottom? And I thought, oh, okay, I need to go out and buy yellow cotton, and then I have to iron it. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm just going to buy bias tape. So bias tape was my friend for Dragon Con. And then the cape is, I handmade it, but it also has bias tape on the bottom too. And like I said, I don't like to use patterns, so her cape is pretty easy because it's just 2 trapezoids. So I like to use math, and I just drew some trapezoids and cut it out. So if you're a math person like me, that might be something. Capes are really fun if you're a math person. Little last bits of advice. I like to shop for several cosplays at a time, so have some lists going. I constantly have a list on my phone. And the Cost Planner app is really great if you need to track how much money you're spending and keep track of that. So that app is really good for that. Don't restrict yourself to one store. It does take time. I think when we were shopping for your Indiana Jones, how many did we hit that day? Probably close to 10. Yeah. So don't restrict yourself to one area. Be quick about it. If you're going thrift shopping on a Saturday morning, zoom in, zoom out. That's essentially what we did. Oh yeah, don't go to the Goodwill outlet. That one was horrible. that was like my nightmare. It was so unorganized. And be patient. This cosplay was made from multiple stores. Actually, let me look at this because it was really fun. So this is my description of this. The jacket and shorts are from Thrift Stores. Boots were from Peggy Carter Cosplay, a group on Facebook. Shirt is from H&M with an iron-on star made by Jenna Amanda. The belt and gloves are from Amazon. The hat is from an Army surplus booth at a flea market. And the shield I bought at a convention. So it came from many different places. So be patient. You can find really cool things at thrift stores. I actually did. This is my most proud moment in my whole life as a cosplayer. I found a screen-accurate Wolverine jacket at a thrift store. And my friend was really wanting to be Wolverine, like a female Wolverine. I found it, and I thought she was going to, like, lose it. When I found it, I was like, oh, my gosh. I looked at it, and I was like, oh, that kind of looks like Wolverine's jacket. And then I pulled up the picture. I was like, it is Wolverine's jacket. So it is possible. I promise. Here's some pictures at the very end. I wanted to plug my friends. My friends are amazing photographers, and that will also make your costumes look really great if you have a great photographer. Galaxy Photography, she's here. She should be here today still. And she does amazing. She's my professional, I don't think I've ever had anyone take another photo of me as Peggy. So she does all of my Peggy shoots. And Alexandra Lee Studios, she does some really amazing. If you're wanting something that you want effects, what do you call that? Photo manipulation and all of that. She's really, really good at that. So check them out if you're wanting some professional photos of your cosplay. They both are really, really great, especially if you're local. They'll meet with you. I will talk about my Captain Carter because I'm super, super proud of Captain Carter. The top, so the blue top in the middle. Does anyone want to take a guess at what its former life was? I know some of you know. It used to be a scrub top. So it is actually a nursing top, a scrub top. And I took and just manipulated the heck out of it until it started looking like that. So all I did was cut across the bottom, added some bias tape, put a little collar on it. So it is possible to make. I've seen a lot of people really struggle with that costume, and I was really, really worried about it. But then I saw and I kind of noticed that the scrub top had the same look. And I just kind of messed around until I got it to look right. And it did take a little while. That one's got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it. But it ended up looking really well, and I'm really, really proud of it. And the rest of it, actually, the pants I purchased at a Goodwill and dyed them. Again, a brown color. The bodysuit, the white bodysuit, and the little red top and the tie are actually all from Amazon, I believe. So pretty easy to do once you kind of get into it and start manipulating things. All right, so does anyone have any questions? I know we have My Hero Academia in here. That's another one that's pretty easy. Some people pulled up specific photos at things. If you guys want, if you have a costume that you're wondering where can I find things, bring me a photo and I will tell you. I love doing that. Ben was about to pay $400 for a coat, and I was like, do not do that. And then we ended up finding it and everything was fine. But what? Oh yeah, Ryan's gonna stand up. So he is Rorschach today, and we found all of this at thrift shops and in his closet. So he had the shirt and the pants and the shoes already. Yeah. This is from, I don't know, Goodwill, I think, right? Or a thrift shop, one of the two. And I made the scarf because it's just a rectangle, and that's really easy to make. And this hat is from Amazon. The mask is really, really cool because it moves, and it's heat manipulative paint. And the lady that was selling them on Etsy was selling them cheaper than what I could buy the paint, and I knew I didn't need the paint for anything else. So we found that. It's really neat how it moves like that. It's so cool. It looks really good, too. So very, very easy costume. She was selling those masks I think $20. It wasn't very much. And I was like, I can't even buy the paint for that. So, but she was a person who made these and sold them a lot. So it was worth it for her, but not worth it for me. And that's another kind of good tip. Check out and see if it's worth it for you to just buy it.